Joe Biden to hike payments for good credit home buyers to subsidize high-risk mortgages. Oh my God. Joe Biden. He's raising what? What is he doing? I don't know what the tell me about this. You were very unhappy with this.
I am. I
Okay.
am.
And I
And
don't
I just need
think
a
it
second
matters.
because what I have to ask
Uh-huh.
is what the fuck?
Who? Okay.
So first of all, how many how many ways is Daddy Sam gonna find to put his hand in people's pockets and fucking take money out of their pockets and give it to somebody else? How many ways? I mean, we already have it
Uh-huh.
with all kinds of taxes and whatnot.
Uh-huh.
And this one in particular is particularly egregious to
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, home buyers with credit scores of over 680 will pay about 40 a month more on a home loan of $400,000. A
Mm-hmm.
$400,000 home, you're talking about like a 3-bed, 2-bath place in a decent state or a decent location actually. That'll get you like a 4-bed, 2-bath in Florida in
Mm-hmm.
certain areas. Um,
Median home price in the United States is 428,000.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's
Okay.
including the home prices in like Alabama
Mm-hmm.
and Kansas, where the home prices for 3-bed, 2-bath is like 150K,
Mm-hmm.
right? But but this is so you want to live in a state that has home prices that are above that, like Florida or California
Mm-hmm.
or New York,
Mm-hmm.
and to buy a decent place, you're gonna be buying a place over 400,000,
Mm-hmm.
and now you get to pay an extra $40 per month
Mm-hmm.
or $480 per year
Mm-hmm.
for the privilege of buying that place.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that you're paying that extra $40 per month
Mm-hmm.
is because you have a good credit score.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where I have to say, are you fucking kidding me?
You mean the people with more have to pay more? My God.
Texas
What are we
too. Yes,
on?
you're right.
What kind of madness? The people with more money have to pay more.
Having a good credit score has nothing to do with whether you have more money. Are you kidding? You can be in tons of debt. You
I've
can have
taken
no
psychic
money
damage.
and still have a
Ah!
good credit score.
Oh! Psychic damage. If you don't have money, you have a bad score.
That's complete bullshit. No,
How do you get that
well, your
score up?
credit score.
Paying with money. So if you have more money, you will have a higher credit score. If you have no money,
No, that is not the
you
case.
cannot
You
pay.
can have tons of money and have a shit credit score because you don't pay your shit on time
Yes,
because
if you're bad with your
you've
money,
missed
you can.
payments.
Yes, entirely possible.
Yeah, if you're bad with money, you'll have a bad credit score.
And if you
That's the
have no
case.
money and you have to take out loans and you have to take out payday loans, your credit score goes down because you don't have money.
If you don't have money, you have to take out loans.
Your credit score goes down.
No, it does not.
If
If
you
you
pay it,
pay back the loans on time, your credit score actually goes up.
but that's less likely to happen because you don't have enough money. The less money you have, the more likely you are to have a bad score. Am I saying anything crazy there? Less money you have, the less likely you are to have above 680. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's
Okay.
terribly unlikely. And if you have lots of money, you have the ability to get your score up to 680.
I have a personal lived experience that
Uh-huh.
says you're wrong on that. But
I'm not saying it's
I'll also
impossible.
agree. I'll also agree that maybe having less money can result in a lower credit score
Maybe. Okay, fine.
if you're really shit with money. But
If you're shit with money, it's because you're poor.
no, you're
There are
poor
very
because you're
few
shit
people
with
who are
money.
shit with money who are rich. If you're shit with money, you're probably poor. You're probably poor because you're shit with money because you don't have the
Well, there you go.
abilities.
You've you said it backwards the first time, and now you've got it
Maybe.
right.
So
You're poor because you're
People,
shit with money.
you're poor because you're shit with money, because you have fewer choices. You have less freedom, I would suggest. But, um,
Now, if I'm good with money, which I am, by the way, I
you're
have a
great with
fucking
money.
credit
I
score
know.
over 800.
You're a fantastic. And you have
As a
some money.
person who
Uh-huh.
has a credit score over 800,
Uh-huh.
but has a an average salary,
Mm-hmm.
if I on my next home purchase,
Yes.
now I get to pay more fucking money
Yes, you do.
because I paid my debts. I made sure that I paid my debts. I
Yes.
did it on time. I was a good boy. And
Okay.
now you're going to punish me for it with more money to pay. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yes. That's exactly what I'm telling you. And that is what I'm
That's such
pushing for. Hell, not
bullshit.
only is it a good idea, it's fucking great.
No, it's a fucking stupid idea.
It's
Why shouldn't Here's the question. Why shouldn't I just take my own fucking credit score right before I buy this home?
why shouldn't you tank it? Because that would harm
Yeah.
you more than $40 a month would. That would harm you far more than $40 a month would. It would.
Why are we punishing people for doing the right thing?
That's not punishment.
It is punishment.
You have been
I did the right
tricked
thing.
by right-wing media into thinking it's
No, I
punishment.
have not been
Taxes are not
tricked.
a punishment. This is a
This is not a
tax. This
tax.
is exactly a tax.
It is not a tax, it's a
It's the
fee.
it's the government taking money from you. It's put in place by Joe Biden.
Uh-huh.
What's Fannie and Freddie Mac? Those are government institutions, are they not? This is a tax.
You,
You have more.
you don't
We've
know what.
determined that you have more because you have a higher credit score.
Wait,
People with
wait.
higher credit
I
scores
want you to
have
answer
more.
the question.
Yes.
What are Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac?
There's some fucking government entity that has to do with housing.
No.
No.
They are under government
Federally
conservatorship
backed home mortgage companies. Why the fuck do we have a federally backed home mortgage company?
for a lot of reasons, actually.
That's a terrible fucking
The
idea.
first
There should
one,
be a separation between government and businesses. But go on.
oh, well, both of them were actually signed into law, actually chartered by Democrats. So,
Yes, they were. To solve a problem that happened because of the fucking capitalist system. The capitalist system keeps people from owning homes, and then the government has to fucking step in. Capitalism is the problem you're going to have. If we drill down deep enough, this problem is caused by capitalism. You're upset.
ridiculous.
You're upset
Fannie Mae and
that
Freddie
the.
Mac
Go on.
are secondary, or
Federally backed
they
companies.
deal they're federally backed. They are they deal in the secondary mortgage market.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, when a bank gives money,
Mm-hmm.
or rather, when a bank loans money to an individual to purchase a home,
Mm-hmm.
the bank only has a certain amount of money, right?
Makes sense.
So let's say that a bank has $10 million, and the average person that buys a home is buying a home for 500,000. And these are hypothetical numbers, just for sake of
Sure. Whatever.
math purposes, right? That means that the bank can only loan out, if they have $10 million and the average house that they make a loan for is 500,000, they can only do 20 loans, right? Before they're out of liquidity, they cannot do another loan,
Mm-hmm.
or else they're way over leveraged.
Mm-hmm.
Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are both uh, chartered by Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Congress actually appoints some members to their board.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do is, when that bank makes that loan to a home buyer,
Mm-hmm.
then that loan, it doesn't have to stay on the bank's books the whole time. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac will buy that loan from the bank, which brings liquidity back into the market.
Mm-hmm.
So what they are designed to do is to bring liquidity back, right? Now, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are government-sponsored entities, so the Fed buys their bonds and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and their rules, which is what the Federal Housing Finance Agency is changing, pretty much set the market. Because if you don't follow their rules, you are essentially terminating yourself as a bank. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have that secondary market, then you make those 20 loans, and that's it. You are
Mm-hmm.
never you're
You have
never
to
doing any more business.
you have to
That's
follow the
you're done.
rules, or else you can't be a part of the game. Okay?
Now the rule is saying it now the rule is not harming the banks in question that are originating these loans and whatnot. The rule is harming people that are responsible with their money. If
Yes.
you have a credit
The
score
people
of
who
higher than
have
680,
money. You'd rather we take money from the people who don't have any money.
no, I'd
That's
rather we I'd rather we don't do either of those things.
the everything you just described to me stinks of capitalism. Capitalism.
Capitalism is not bad.
It can have negative repercussions.
Okay,
Great.
so
And
what?
when those negative
So can
repercussions
everything
happen,
else.
yeah, great. When those negative repercussions of capitalism
Yeah,
happen, what
great.
do? The people suffer and they go to their government and say, help us. And then the government creates federally backed home mortgage companies, Freddie Mae and Freddie Mac. Those
Fannie
companies,
Mae and Freddie Mac were designed to introduce liquidity into the secondary mortgage market so that we can have more housing
yes,
or more
people
access
need
to loans for housing.
houses. Who
I
needs a
agree.
house?
Yeah.
Literally everybody. And if there are people who are poor or miserable or just bad with their money and low credit scores and they can't get them, then the government needs to do something about that. And what they did was create Fannie and Freddie in an attempt to fix a capitalist failing.
No.
Yes,
Fannie and Freddie were created
if there's not enough liquidity,
to introduce liquidity into the market. That
then
has
your
nothing to
capitalism's
do with
failing
what with
somewhere.
excuse me. No. There that has nothing to do with people uh, who have bad credit scores uh, being able to enter the market. And by the way, we have a term for giving loans to people with bad credit scores. You may have heard it before.
Hmm.
It's called a subprime loan.
Hmm.
And giving too many subprime loans is what caused the 2007 and 2008 financial crisis.
Just stinking of capitalism to me.
You can't just blame capitalism every
I
time you don't like what I'm
can,
saying.
though.
No, you
Every time
can't.
I look for the source of a problem, it turns out to be fucking money, capitalism, and economists. When I go looking for the cause of a problem, it turns out to be capitalism. When I go looking for the reason that subprime mortgage problem happened, it's because capitalism. When I go looking at your complaint here that that people with, I'm not calling you
I'll tell you
rich,
what I think.
I'm
I
saying,
think it,
mhm,
I think that you retreat to this anytime that I have a problem with something the government's doing that's related to money.
you have problems
That
with the government. And I
I
try to
think that
figure out why the government did the thing that they did, and the reason is
you're
always
going way too
money.
far back. It's
Why don't we go to the beginning? Why don't we go to all the way back? Why don't we go to the
way too far
problem?
back because I'm not here to have a debate about capitalism versus socialism. We live in a capitalist society,
And
okay?
it's running amok.
And no, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. And the problem is that I don't like what the government is doing within our capitalist framework.
Great. Why are they doing it?
And so you're saying, well, our problem is capitalism. Well,
Why did
no,
they make
our
this decision?
problem
Why you don't like the government's decision? Why did they make that decision?
because they're stupid.
Because they are trying to put a band-aid over the problems of capitalism. They are trying to fix a problem within capitalism. That is why they did this thing.
What is the problem with capitalism that they're trying to fix?
People can't get houses because they're goddamn expensive, and the real estate market, through capitalism, is crooked and predatory. Predatory capitalism is causing it to where human beings can't have a house to live in.
Well, we have regulations against predatory capitalism, and
Great.
actually,
That's the
you know,
government, right?
yeah, those regulations don't involve having people that are responsible with their money uh, subsidizing people that are not.
Yes, they are.
No, it's not. It's, for example, we have regulations against predatory capitalism that
Hmm.
I actually um, agree with that a lot of Republicans don't. So I'll give you that. We have our Glass-Steagall laws, right? It is the uh, repealing of the. That's not what Shinsinto's saying, by the way.
That's why I had a question mark behind it.
It is the repealing of Glass-Steagall or the relaxing of it that resulted in our 2008 crisis.
Right, I agree.
So we do have to have a certain amount of regulation, yes, so that you can't fuck things up
Hmm.
in our system. That's fine. That still works within a capitalist system.
That's
It's not capitalism
You
that's
just
problem.
described a $40
Especially
a month increase.
no, I did not.
Yeah, you did.
No,
That's part
no,
of the
I didn't.
regulation. They've said, hey, we need X amount of money to help people get into homes. How do we get it? We
No,
don't take it from poor people. Poor people don't
Glass-Steagall
have
is.
anything.
Excuse me. No,
Okay. That's not what
Glass-Steagall
Glass-Steagall
is
is. No.
represent. No,
Okay.
Glass-Steagall is regulations on banks
Hmm.
that say you have to follow these rules so that we don't have a financial crisis.
Great.
What are those rules? That you don't get to do certain things.
Hmm.
You have to do certain things.
Hmm.
None of those things involve an extra $40 a month on a home buyer, on the actual person that is buying a house or taking a loan. Those regulations are for banks.
Right.
Those are not regulations. That is not.
I'm not saying
Oh, we're
Glass-Steagall
introducing it
is.
for
I'm
the
not
bank.
suggesting Glass-Steagall is charging you $40. I'm suggesting that Glass-Steagall is regulation, and this thing from Fannie and Freddie is simply a tax and or regulation. This is not some unheard of, mind-blowing thing that we've never seen before. The
I
government
know.
regulates and taxes. That's what it does. That's its purpose. Daddy Sam, you're very upset about, regulates and taxes. That's two of the most important damn things that the government is supposed to do and has to do and cannot not do. Regulation, mandatory. Taxes, mandatory. This is a tax.
Yeah,
That's all.
I just put something in the public stream links
Okay.
for you to look at real quick.
Okay. Public stream links. When you own a vehicle, the government. When you sell something, the government. When you buy something, the government. When you pay an employee, the government. When you get paid, the government. When you give someone money or property, the government wants a piece. When you die, the government. When you work extra hard and make overtime, the government. When you own property, the government. Yes. Unironically, yes.
What the fuck?
When you own a vehicle, you have to pay, there has to be some taxes. Yes, I'm doing it. And some regulations on those vehicles. When you sell something, there have to be taxes and regulations on what you can sell and how. When you buy something, there have to be regulations, the fact that it's not poisonous. There have to be taxes to be paid. When you pay an employee, yes, they have to chip into Social Security. When you get paid, yes, you have to chip into Social Security. You have to chip into FICA. Acceptable. When you give someone money or property, yes, we have to make sure you're not doing anything illegal. When you die, there have to be regulations, and the government has to take a piece. When you work extra hard and make overtime, you've made more money. More money means you have to pay more taxes. When you own property, yes, the government has to take a piece, and there have to be regulations. I'm looking at your meme here and saying unironically yes.
That sounds fucking awful.
It's reality.
When I own a vehicle,
Yes.
it's paid for. I own it.
With
It's mine.
money that has the damn
No, no,
United
no.
States
This is
government seals on it.
money. Money is a representation of value. I earned my money. I bought a vehicle with it. And now, after I bought that vehicle, every year the government says, in order to keep your vehicle, the one that I bought with
Uh-huh.
my labor, in order to keep your vehicle, you have to pay me $500 per year
Right.
as property tax.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
What the fuck is that?
That's the government doing regulation. When you
No,
didn't
that's
you
not the
didn't
government
buy
doing regulation.
that
No.
that vehicle had to have been uh, measured so that it fits on the road. You know, there are regulations to how wide your damn car can be, right?
Okay. And that was
The roads
done.
have to be built. The regulations have to exist. You have to pay taxes. You didn't buy that vehicle on your
I
own,
do pay taxes on the roads, by the way. It's a
right? You
gas
do.
tax.
You do.
I
Because you
don't pay
have
that through
to.
my vehicle property tax.
Vehicle property tax is a tax that exists. I'm not saying it doesn't exist.
Exists. It should not.
It then try and convince your representative that it should not exist.
It's a great thing, you know,
That
that
money that you
see what I'm mad
had
about.
says the
Actually, I'm not
United
subject
States
to
of
that anymore.
America on
That's the
it.
best thing is
This
in
isn't like
Virginia, I
a
had to
money that
pay
you
a
existed. You didn't make this. It
I had
exists.
it exists. I bought it. It's mine.
The money literally is part of the government.
You know, when I was a resident of Virginia, I had to pay a property tax on my vehicle.
Yes, because the state of Virginia
You know what was
suggested.
amazing
Okay.
is when I moved to Florida,
Yes.
I no longer had to pay a property tax on my vehicle. So
Right.
yes, I I agree with you. Our representatives should make it so we don't pay property taxes because property taxes are horse shit.
Unless it's necessary to function your government. Taxes are necessary to function a government. If you don't have a government, you don't have security, you don't have a peaceful world, you have anarchy. So you're paying for no anarchy. Is that a deal you'd like to be a part of? It's a deal I'd like to be a part of. I don't like anarchy. It seems like a bad idea. So I will give the government my money to prevent such a thing.
Mm, I understand what you're saying, but I think that owning a vehicle or owning property is a little different because we aren't using that money to prevent anarchy. We
Of
are
course you
using that
are.
money. No, we're not. We are pooling that money to subsidize certain things. Um,
Right.
I think that our gas tax is what is supposed to be designed, or our gas tax is designed to pay for road maintenance. So we already have a gas tax. Then why do we have to have a property tax on vehicles?
That's what that state
But
decided.
actually,
The
this is
state decides
beside the
we
point.
need X
Actually,
amount of money, and how are we going to get it? We're either going to do a sales tax, or we're going to do a excise tax, or we're going to do this tax. Or the government can decide that. And if you don't like the way your government has decided those taxes, then you should talk to your government, reach out to them, tell them what you want, and try and get somebody else elected. If the people of Virginia don't like their property tax, then they need to work with their government to either change it. But if it changes, it's just going to be put somewhere else.
well, I mean, I agree with you. Um, it's just this picture
Uh huh.
is how I feel about the bill we're talking about. It's it's not just when you own a vehicle, when you die, when you pay an employee, when you get paid,
Mm-hmm.
when you get some money on your property, when you sell something, when you buy something, when you own property. It's now when you're responsible with your money, the government.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what the fuck?
Yes, you can choose to be less responsible and not pay as much taxes. You can choose not to ever own any stock, and you'll never pay any. What's that tax when you sell a stock? I don't remember the name of it, but um,
Well,
when you
you're
if
entirely wrong on that, and
I'm entirely wrong.
I'm not
If
going to get into it.
okay,
But
okay, okay, you can make
but
choices.
you are fundamentally wrong.
You can make
Um,
choices to lessen your tax burden, can't you? You don't have to own a car. You can make life
actually,
choices.
now I'm going to have to correct you.
Uh huh.
Uh, the capital gains tax,
That's the one. Yeah.
which is the one that is where you hold the stock for over a year,
Mm-hmm.
is 15%,
Mm-hmm.
or the long-term holding, whereas a short-term holding is taxed in your tax bracket.
Mm-hmm.
So, my tax bracket, I pay 22%.
Sure.
So any profits on stocks, I pay 20%. 22% on for short-term sales, which is less than 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Capital gains is 15%.
Mm-hmm.
So the longer you hold it, actually, the less you pay,
So you can make that
basically.
choice, or you could choose to not own any stock. You could choose to take no. You could choose to not have a job. You could choose to make your life just picking up pennies on the outside on the street. Like you can choose that. You can lower your tax burdens by making choices. You can choose not to own a vehicle. You could choose to own 7. If I owned 7 vehicles, would I pay more taxes than somebody who owns 1?
I don't think you should if you paid the
I
vehicle
I
off.
made the choice to own the 7 of them. Someone made a choice to buy this home for $400,000. And yes, sometimes there are regulations that are involved. There are regulations to driving a car. There are regulations to buying and owning stocks. There are regulations to selling them at a certain time. Those are unavoidable.
Okay,
And not only are they
except
unavoidable, they're fine.
they're not fine. No.
Then
In this case
elect someone
specifically,
else. Yeah,
this one is specifically egregious because it punishes people who have done the right thing with their money.
it's not a punishment. Taxes are not a punishment. You are putting
It's not a
that.
tax, it's a fee.
We talked about being neutral before. You're being not neutral right now. Calling a fee a punishment is nonsense.
It's a fee that is only applied to you if you did a certain thing. Which, I mean, if I commit a traffic violation, I get a fee for it, right? I get a penalty. This is a penalty.
This is not a penalty. This is a fee.
It is a penalty.
No.
It is a penalty. If
No.
I have a credit score of 680 or higher,
Mm-hmm.
which means I've been responsible with my money,
Mm-hmm.
and then I want to buy a home
Mm-hmm.
that is over $400,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now I get to pay extra money for it because I'm being penalized.
No, you're in a higher tax bracket. Are tax brackets penalties?
Are credit scores tax brackets?
Credit scores follow the same logic.
No,
Of course they do.
no. Credit scores are a measure of are you responsible with the money or not. They are not tax brackets. Credit
They
scores
are
have
shockingly
nothing to
similar.
do. No, credit scores have nothing to do with how much money you're making, and everything to do with how responsible you are with your money.
If
How likely you are to pay money back when you borrow it. That's what a credit score is. That is
right,
entirely different from how
how
much
is it?
money you're making. That's
No,
completely different from a
no.
tax bracket. Are you
They
kidding me?
are two different things, but the reason they went with a high credit score is because if you start charging fees to people with low credit scores, they won't pay it because they
680
don't
is not
have money.
high.
It might be higher than mine. Um, literally, the government needs
What? Well,
money,
actually,
and they're going to
repeat
get
what
it
you were
from.
just saying. Repeat what you just said.
Okay, that 680 is higher than mine. I'm below 680, if I remember correctly. I don't pay attention to it all that often. So what I'm going to say is the government needed some money to help the poor and the people who are underneath and the people who are suffering. And to get that money, they went looking for for people who have money, and people who have money generally have a credit score of higher than 680. So they charge them a fee. This is a tax. It's a fee. It's not a punishment.
It
If you
is.
don't want to do this, if you don't want to pay this fee, then don't do the thing. Don't buy a house for four
Don't do
hundred
the
thousand
thing.
dollars.
Don't buy a house.
Don't buy a house. Yeah. If it's such a fucking nightmare of paying $40 a month is some horrible nightmarish punishment, then don't buy a house. But you can't not buy a house because everybody needs houses, and the entire United States economy is based on buying and selling each other's houses.
That is not correct, and I don't agree with any part of what you just said. I'm talking about the without getting into, without getting into everything wrong here. Having a credit score
Uh-huh.
is the result.
Stinks of capitalism, but go on.
No, fuck off with
It's a
that.
capitalist tool, ain't it?
I don't give a fuck if it's a
Your credit
capitalist
score
tool.
is a tool of the capitalism, but go on.
Your credit score is a measure of your ability, or not ability, but your trustworthiness to pay back debts.
I agree with that sentence so far.
So, when you were a kid, and you wanted to go to the store and buy, to the corner store and buy like a pack of gummy worms. You went with
Sure.
your friends, right? You go there, you don't have the $1.25 that it costs to buy that pack. And you're like, "Hey bro, can I get a $1.25 to buy that pack of gummy worms?" He gives it to you. A week goes by, you and your friends go back to the corner store. You want another pack of gummy worms because you already eaten them.
Mm-hmm.
You still don't have the money.
Mm-hmm.
And you haven't given that $1.25 back to your buddy.
Okay.
Hey bro, can I have a $1.25 to buy this pack of gummy worms?
No, you haven't paid for the last one. Your credit has lowered.
That is a credit score.
Yes, I recognize what credit scores are.
Well, then how do you have a a moral obligation to credit scores?
I have a moral obligation to most capitalist things. It is a tool of capitalism to loan out and give out money and then get it back. If you don't take from the people who have, you don't have anything. The people with lower credit scores, why do we have lower credit scores? I can think of two reasons right off the fucking bat. You have
Why do we
low
have
credit
low
score
credit scores? Because we're
because
shit with money.
you're shit with money or you don't have enough money.
I'm gonna tell you
Great.
that,
How are we going to charge 40
that
bucks a month to
in,
people who are bad with money or don't have it? You can't.
well, I'll tell you what, we shouldn't be charging $40 per month for people who are good with money
Of course
for
we
being
should.
good with it.
Yes, we should.
No, we shouldn't.
I'm sorry.
No.
I'm
No,
a fucking
because what's
socialist.
the
I'm telling you
purpose of that
literally that.
$40? No, what's the purpose of the $40 per month?
To help the less
For a
fortunate and the people
$400,000
on the
loan.
bottom. To help the people on the bottom.
That are shit with money.
Possibly. Or because they don't have any money.
It's
Or they're shit
overwhelming
with money because they don't have any. They're
I'll tell
bad
you
with
that
money because they
it's
don't have enough.
95% because they're shit with money.
I don't believe you.
I grew up poor.
So did I.
I know. Well, okay.
I don't want to go into the Paralympics with you. We can do this personally later. But what I'm suggesting is that you cannot tax and fee people who don't have any money.
All I'm saying is You went down. You brought it up.
You brought up
Poor people
don't
are
have
shit with
money,
money.
or they are bad with it because they don't have enough and they have to make
They
shit
are
choices.
bad with it.
And they don't
Yes.
have enough. So that leads you to doing things that you wouldn't normally do. They don't want to take out a payday loan, but they have to because they don't have a fucking choice. They don't want to live
That
in
is
that
the
relative's house. They don't want
that
to
is the
borrow
very
from their
fewest.
parents. Poor people don't
As
have the
someone
choices.
who grew up poor and
Hmm.
knows what it is to be poor
Hmm.
and went to a poor school,
Hmm.
the difference between my family and the people that I went to school with
Hmm.
is I did not have nice things
I
growing up.
can relate to that. What the
The
fuck has
people
that got to do with anything?
that well, and you live a relatively nice life now, don't you?
I'm middle class right now.
Uh-huh. That's relatively nice. I'd say
Okay.
I'm middle class too.
Okay, great.
Um, the difference is people that I went to school with when I was in school.
Hmm.
We have these programs that are reduced lunch, free lunch, etc.
Sure. I I recognize those.
There
Okay.
there were kids on the free lunch program that are walking around in $300 shoes
Okay.
or are buying designer clothes.
Okay.
I bought I got my clothes from Walmart.
Hmm.
And I remember them making fun of me for it.
Hmm.
But that was a consequence of my parents being responsible with their money.
Hmm.
And I learned the same. The way I learned that the way I earned my allowance when I was a child was I used to cut coupons. We got those brochures in the mail,
Okay.
and my siblings and I would sit there and read through all of them to find coupons that
Hmm.
were worthy of being cut. Like we didn't have any pets, so any cat food coupon was not valid for us, right? But anything that we thought would actually be useful, we cut, and and our mom gave us a cut of whatever she saved from the coupons.
Okay.
That is being good with money.
Did they choose to be poor? Did your parents choose to be lower class, lower on the income spectrum? Did they choose that?
No, but they also didn't choose to be bad with money. They chose to be
Great.
responsible with their money. They
Fine.
didn't dig any holes that they they didn't dig any holes that they couldn't get out of, and their credit was always high. The whole time their credit was high, and that resulted in us eventually being able to come up, as the children say.
Great.
Uh, we moved from being very poor to being middle class and then to being upper middle class.
Okay.
And
And now that
it wasn't a
now that
matter
they're
of
there,
having the money.
and now that they're there, can they scrape by with a $40 a month increase on their home loan? Yes, they can.
Well, it's not a $40 a month increase on their home loan, is it? Because that home loan is for a home loan of 400K, right?
Hmm.
So, and also, if you make a down payment, you get more.
Right, because you
So,
have 20% of a
so
house
if you were
already.
responsible enough to save to make a down payment on your house,
Mm-hmm.
Now,
That means you have
when
money.
you buy your home, no, it doesn't mean you have money. It means you
Yes, it
saved
does.
money, and then you make that down payment, and now you're paying an extra $100 a month, or let's say it's a $600,000 home, and you
And it goes
don't
up
have to have
above that. Yes.
$600,000 to make a monthly payment on a $600,000 home.
Mm-hmm.
Gives you making enough to 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 pay for whatever the rate is on that.
Mm-hmm.
And now, let's say you've got $600,000 home and you save for 10 years to put down a 20% down payment, right?
Okay.
Now you get to pay an extra $200 a month. Do you think that that's inconsequential?
I think it's fine. You were capable
That's
of
a lot of
saving.
fucking money.
You were capable of saving it, which means you weren't poor. Poor people don't have savings. Poor people do not have a 15% of 20% of a house. What's 15% of 400,000? Could probably math it out real quick.
I'm
I'm
telling you that
opening
they
my
do.
calculator.
If
400.
they
No, they
save for
don't.
10 years. Yeah.
Times. They're not poor then.
Uh,
0.15 equals 60,000. So, uh, $60,000
so you managed to
is
save $6,000 a year.
saved $60,000. You're not poor. Fuck off. You're not poor.
Over 10
There's
years? Are
over
you
10
kidding
years.
me?
You're not
That's
poor.
$6,000 a year.
Right. You're not poor. Poor people have zero in the bank. Poor people have zero in their savings. That's poor. $60,000. You're going to, I know that this is, again, capitalism. 20% is what you need to put down to buy this house, and you've been able to save it over 10 years. You are not poor. I will look anybody in the face who has $60,000 to put down 20% as 20%, and I will look at them and say, "You are not poor."
That is complete bullshit.
They're middle
You
class.
you can be poor and still save if you do it right.
No, then you're not
Yes, you
poor.
can.
No, you
Yeah.
can't. You cannot. Then you're not poor. If you are saving $60,000 over 10 years, you're not poor.
Okay. If I'm not saving any money any year, but I
Yes.
can, but I'm on the free lunch program
Mm-hmm.
and I can walk around in $300 shoes. Am I poor?
Probably.
Well, what
Yes.
the fuck? I have
There's a lot of
$300
poor
shoes.
people in the country. It can take on different
How can I afford them?
avenues because poor people buy $300 things all the time. They don't buy
Because they're fucking shit with money.
$60,000 because they are
The
poor.
difference in that $6,000 a year is whether or not you're buying $300 shoes every 5 months.
You're making
The
the
difference is in whether or not you're you're
what
buying a fucking Bentley
whether or not they're buying avocado
and-
toast, right? They're
or
fucking wasting
avocado
all their
toast.
money on
Sure,
avocado toast.
you wait
Okay,
if
boomer.
you're shit. Yeah, well, that's not a boomer thing.
It
If
is
you
a boomer
spend all
thing.
your fucking money, no. If you spend your money irresponsibly and you spend it on things that you shouldn't be spending it on, you're gonna be poor forever. That's a fact.
Yes, I
It
agree
just
with the
is.
statement.
Well, you know what? As somebody who has come up from that, I'll tell you
Then
what.
then be
When I was a
proud of the
kid,
thing that you've
my
done.
shoes came from Walmart.
Great, so did
My
mine.
clothes came from Walmart. My and even as an adult, I still buy those things. It luxury items are luxury items for a reason.
Right. And if
If
you
you spend your
uh-huh,
money as a person,
uh-huh.
if you spend your money on those luxury items without having the actual money to cover for it,
Mm-hmm.
you're stupid. Don't do it.
Or alternate idea, you recognize that you will never scrape together $60,000 to drop on a house, so why bother? That is the millennial feeling that we've been having. Um, I'm 40 years old. I'm the oldest of the millennials. And it's not easy to save up that $60,000. Maybe don't even try. Might as well be a million. If if you are living paycheck to paycheck and you do not have any in savings, then why wouldn't you just spend $300 on shoes that you want?
Because that $300 is $300 you could have saved.
And if you
Because
save that
if
$300
hold on,
for eternity,
because
maybe you'll be able to put a little bit in.
because that $300 that you spent is not just the one-time thing that you're spending $300 on that's superfluous.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you didn't just spend $300 on those shoes. Then you turn around, you spent $80 on that shirt.
Mm-hmm.
You spent $50,000 on that car that you
Mm-hmm.
didn't need. My first car was $12,000.
Uh-huh. Mine was
Brand new.
$400. Oh, are you talking the first car you bought?
Yeah, the first car that I bought was $12,000, brand new, and it was a base model, like no cruise control, nothing.
Sure.
And I bought that, and I financed it, and I paid for the entire thing with my salary. It was none of it came from my parents.
Uh-huh. Great. And if you had skipped the $300 shoes 200 times, you might have enough to put down a down payment on a house.
What if? Well, no, it is.
I did the math. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, $300 shoes 200 times. But then how much more is it? Is
yes.
I skipped $300 shoes. I bought a $15 pair, right?
Mm-hmm.
I skipped the $8 shirt. I bought a $5 shirt.
Yes. So if you live like you're poor, if you live in poverty, hopefully, maybe someday you can save up enough to put down a down payment on a house. The thing that everybody has to have. You literally need a house.
The idea is you're also always working to improve your situation. So
yes, hopefully.
In addition to scrimping and scrounging for every cent.
Uh-huh.
Also, you are working to improve your station in life.
Great. And that sometimes relies on luck. I mean, if you could, it doesn't really. You said your parents were poor. Why were they poor? Is it because of bad choices or because of bad luck that put them in that situation?
Neither. It's just how it is.
That's just how it is. That's called luck, boss. That's what we call that.
A little bit of it.
If they were born in a shitty place,
of it would have been some bad choices. But
okay. So and some of that can be bad luck. You can be born to poor parents who had a job and then lost it because of no fault of their own and can't get a job. I mean, are there not dead zones in the middle of the country where you can't really get a good job and people are living paycheck to paycheck through no fault of their own? I would call that luck. I would call that bad luck. There are lots of unlucky people who are now poor.
Yes.
And in becoming poor, they now have to make difficult decisions. They have to make the decision to not save money to pay for the things that they have to have today. That's poor. If you are...
Wait, say that again?
They have to make bad decisions to pay for things today. They have to not save money because we have to have that shit today.
They have to make bad decisions to pay for the bad decisions they already made.
Or because of the bad luck they had yesterday. Bad luck. You have to pay for the bad luck that happens to you. You have to pay for the things that you had nothing to do with. If a meteor hit my house right now, I would have to pay for that shit. And it would affect every single thing I do after that. It would affect me economically. I will never recover financially from this situation. There are people who have just their one bad day, their one lost job, their one car failing the car payment away from severe financial ruin. And we're all trying to avoid that. And this is all capitalism, baby.
Hits your house. The example you just gave, I think.
Sure. Oh, we don't have to do that. We could find a situation that is completely not my fault. Can bad
But I
things
think a
happen to me?
meteor hitting your house is completely not your fault, right?
Right.
Do you have insurance for your house?
Yes, and it'll pay for some. And then I still
Probably.
have to
Probably pay for a lot
spend
of it.
money to replace all the things that have gone, or spend money to replace things that have been damaged. And I've been paying that insurance. The insurance isn't just given to you.
I know.
I've been
You've
paying
been
them.
paying insurance.
Right. I've been
That
paying for that shit.
the cost, the potential for a meteor to fall into your house
I know.
is a risk, right?
Yes.
That it's a very very small,
But it
potentially infinitesimal risk,
but that happening would
but
be bad luck, wouldn't it?
it would be terrible luck.
Great. And I
But
have to pay for that shit.
that is what insurance is. Yes,
I paid for it ahead of time. I'm paying ahead of time I'm paying today for the bad luck of tomorrow. Yeah?
potentially, yeah.
So bad luck costs money. Poor people can be poor through no fault of their own.
True, but I think in most cases, from my experience, um, it usually is through fault of their own. Yeah,
It could be through fault of their own.
I think
And
that most of the poor people that I grew up with
mhm,
and that I've lived around, um, make terrible choices with their money. For
okay.
example, um, there was a guy at one point. Uh, I don't want to give specifics. Sometime in the last 20 years, let's say,
Mhm,
that was going through a divorce. I let this guy live with me
okay.
because the costs of um, the divorce and the alimony that he was required to pay,
Mhm,
um, actually, between those two things, um, went above the amount that he had been making. So let's say, like, how do I put this? Let's say he made 6,000 a month,
mhm,
and the place where he was renting costed 3,000, uh, and his alimony and child support and whatnot costed 2,700.
mhm,
Now, the place that he was renting, he was
mhm,
required to continue to rent because his ex-wife still stayed there, right?
mhm.
So the other 2,700 was his fixed expenses, and then you had $300 for everything else,
Okay.
right? I think by definition, having to have somebody else take you in and whatnot makes you
Mhm.
poor,
He's poor.
right? He's poor. He doesn't have money.
I don't want to charge
Well,
him a $40 a month fee
I'll tell you
because he's
this:
poor.
is the the first thing he did when he got his tax break for the year,
Mhm,
which was a substantial one because of his situation,
mhm.
was to buy new parts for his motorcycle.
Okay.
Is that a smart thing to do?
I don't know. I suspect no. It seems
No.
like a thing he
He
shouldn't have
had a
done.
car and he had a motorcycle. He could
And
have sold
he
the motorcycle.
and he made that decision
He made that decision.
because he's free to do so.
And and
He
yeah,
has
he's
to
free to
pay
do
those
so.
consequences.
Uh-huh.
He has to
And
continue to be
and
poor.
and there are consequences. You're right.
Great.
Yes. And that that's exactly what we're getting at there though,
Okay.
isn't it? Because if I the, if I am a person that has paid their debts and is good with money
Mhm.
and doesn't spend my money on superfluous things,
Mhm.
I will have a credit score higher than 680.
Great.
And that means that next time I try to buy a house, now I get to pay extra money in order to pay for the bad choices of people who did not save their money, who did not manage their money responsibly.
Yes,
Why?
because you are part of a society.
That, yes, and that society has rules, and part of those rules include credit scores. And
It doesn't have to
I
include
have,
credit scores,
I
but okay.
have, well, I
Capitalism.
think that,
Go on.
again, credit scores are a measure of how reliable you will be to pay back your loans.
Yes. If you have a higher credit score, you are more likely to have the money to pay that fee and more likely to be capable of paying that fee. I mean, is that not a true statement? If you have a higher credit score, you either, one, have the money to pay the fee, or two, have the ability, the brain power. Hell, I'll even call it responsibility, not responsibility, but the attitude of responsibility that you could pay that $40 a month fee. And if you have a low credit score, you either don't have the money to pay the fee or you aren't responsible enough to pay that fee. Yes, this is basic. This is why I equated it to the tax brackets. If you have more money, you can pay more taxes. If you have less money, you should pay less taxes. This is exactly the same. You're on a credit score above 680. You either have money or you have the capability.
Both and neither.
Both and neither.
Um, as I said, having a credit score of 680
mhm.
is possible if you're not making a lot of money.
Right, because you have the capability. You have the wherewithal, the intelligence that I'm going to say that your parents had to scrimp and save and pay those bills on time so that they have a high credit score. And
Are
if
you suggesting that people with lower credit scores do not have that same ability, the
that
ability
same
to
mental
actually do that?
ability, no. If they're buying $300 shoes and they're spending all their money on avocado toast, either they don't have the wherewithal, intelligence, and uh, wisdom to save that money, or they're choosing not to.
Okay, so you're saying I should be penalized for having
It's a
wisdom?
fee. It's not a penalty. Yes,
It
I'm
is a
I'm
penalty.
I'm dropping the ball. I'm dropping the bomb. Yes, you're smarter. You have to pay more.
What the fuck?
I don't even give a shit. I don't even care that rich
How
people
is
have to
that
pay higher
right? How is
taxes.
that correct? How is that just?
You're part of a society.
So what?
So
I
what?
did the right thing as a member of that society. I paid my fucking debts on time.
Yes.
I did what I was supposed to do, and
Yes.
now you're penalizing me for doing what I'm supposed to do. Fuck you.
Either the people who aren't doing the thing are either dumber, which means they haven't been educated properly, or they're incapable, which means you have to carry them. Yes, you
Neither of
carry
which
them.
is my fault.
Nobody said it was your fault, but you have to carry them. This is a
Why?
team. The country is a team exercise, not an individual one. Our country and our economy is a team effort. If you have more to give, then you need to give more. From
I
each
disagree entirely.
from
No.
each of their
Nope. You get
abilities
what
and
you
to
earn.
each. Well, which is why I don't
Which,
agree with your
by
thing.
the way, what you're about to say there is
Yeah,
from each according to their ability.
yeah.
Also, could be interpreted as you get what you earn.
No, it's not. Absolutely not. Not in any way, shape, or form. From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. Now, why would that get what you earn? The second half of this sentence does not meet your get what you earn.
Okay, hold
To
on.
each according to his
Actually,
needs.
we are arguing from the premise that some people are just not capable.
Yes, either through education or they drink too much water from lead pipes and now they are incapable of making smart, wise decisions. I suspect that that is such a thing.
Incapable. It's incredible.
Hmm.
I don't think that it's a matter of being incapable of certain things. I think that they don't even try. I think that
If it's a millennial who's being jaded like I am, and they choose to have a $6 Starbucks coffee every day instead of saving that to put down on a house, they're either jaded by society or they don't care or they're not being wise. I can accept the idea that the person who is not wise with their money will be poor. I accept that. That is fine.
okay,
But the
and
people who
you're saying that
are,
if you're not wise with your money, then you should be entitled to money from the people that are wise with their money.
no, I'm saying you should not suffer and just live on the street and be miserable. I'm saying that yes, it's entirely plausible even under my system that I'm describing to you, that it is entirely plausible that a millennial who just being jaded eats avocado toast, has $8 Starbucks every day, $300 shoes, does not have enough money for a house, and that $40 that the wise person spent is given to them. Yes, that's entirely plausible, but that is a unintended consequence from the system that exists to try and help the person who had bad luck, who had a unexpected car failure that they had to then take out a loan to fix and cannot uh, put down the money for a house.
Do you think? Okay, hold on a second. You're suggesting
Hmm.
that this system is designed for the 3% of people that have really bad luck and who were wise and good with their money. And it's not designed for the 97% who were shit with their money. And
I don't think those
I
90.
have to ask, are you
One, I
fucking
don't.
kidding with
I
me?
don't believe your numbers. First of all. Second,
It's how many of those people do you think are actually ones who are good with their money who have bad luck?
most.
No. No fucking way.
But well, you don't think that because you've been lied to by fucking Fox News, telling you that
No, I don't
welfare
think that because I
queens
lived
who
it.
drive Cadillacs. It's easier to
I don't think that
buy
because I lived it.
which is easier,
I went to the
buying.
worst.
Uh-huh.
No, I I
Is it
went.
easier to buy a $300 pair of shoes or save $60,000 over 10 years to put down on a house? Which is easier?
It's easier to buy the $300 pairs of shoes,
Then that's what
except for the
people will
fact.
do.
Well,
That's
so
it.
ridiculous.
That's it. It's what people will do. Kyle thanks you for the $40 you sent his family. Uh, it
No,
is easier
it's
for
not
people to
funny.
do that.
It's ridiculous, is what it is. And it's not just the $300 pair of shoes every year. Like I said, it's a lifestyle that is being paid for. And my lifestyle growing up
Hmm.
was a lifestyle of saving.
Okay.
And that resulted in me being able to live
Move up.
in
You
a
moved
life,
up. So did I.
move up. Exactly.
We've worked hard to move
People
up.
that have a lifestyle of spending more than they earn,
Hmm.
that results in it results in continuing to be poor. You don't move up.
I agree.
So now, as
So you.
somebody who
Uh huh.
who who made those sacrifices,
Hmm.
or at the very least, those sacrifices were made for me
Hmm.
as a child, and then as an adult, I continued to make those kind of sacrifices.
Hmm.
My credit score is good, and
Great.
I made those sacrifices, and now I get to pay for all those people that didn't make those sacrifices.
Or can't. They literally have nothing.
They could have.
They can't. They have nothing.
A lot of them could. A lot of them could have.
So you got yours, fuck them. What I'm suggesting is that,
Not
yes,
at all.
I have also
No.
moved up. I have also moved up, and I'm willing to pay that to help other people. Because I recognize that sometimes this stuff is just bad luck. And I don't trust the
Sometimes.
capitalist system that we have. I think the capitalist system that we have
See, I think
is
these people made their
wrecked
choices
from the beginning.
and they are reaping the consequences of their choices.
I mean, there
And
are
now,
children living in poverty. That's what I've got on the screen right now. Did that
And
child
now-
choose to live in poverty?
no,
Great. So they
That
now
child
have a
didn't.
shit education,
that is
and they've
that
been
is the
given.
result of their parents'
Okay, great.
choices.
Their parents made choices, and that has put them in poverty. They have a child in poverty. That child now has to work extra hard to get out of poverty, or they can choose to be unwise with their money and stay in poverty.
Uh-huh.
I don't think that's not a choice people are making. People aren't choosing to be poor. The choices they make end up being poor. The choices that you make end you up in being in poverty. But it's not like you chose to be in poverty. Does that make sense?
You don't have to you don't get to choose where you start,
Okay.
but you can choose where you finish.
No, you can't. What if you had bad luck and you couldn't get anything out? What if your parents chose to name you a weird name that people don't like and you don't get hired? What if you were born in the ghetto and now you can't get out?
None of those things are
you,
true.
You don't just get to choose to be rich.
Yeah, you don't. No, you don't. You don't just
You
get to choose to be rich.
It
You're right.
takes.
You're right. But the United States is a country with literally the most social mobility and economic mobility in the world.
Uh-huh.
You do.
But it's not
make
100%,
the
and it's not
choice.
guaranteed.
It's not.
It still
absolutely is not
requires
guaranteed.
a bit of
You
luck.
have to work for it.
Yeah,
and
luck
sometimes,
and luck. Don't say it's just work.
You know,
because it's luck and
I
work.
think the amount of work that I've done, I should be a millionaire. But am I? No. And do I
Sounds
begrudge
unlucky to
anyone
me.
of that? No.
Sounds unlucky to me.
It does sound unlucky.
But you
you
are
know what?
begrudging those poor people $40?
From me
Yes.
that I earned,
Yes.
and they didn't.
That's too far. You're not begrudging them, but you will begrudge them the $40. The government has put out a plan. It's not like you're giving
per
them.
month.
Yeah, I know.
So that's $500 a year.
Yes, and that's a step too far. That is screaming bloody murder at Joe Biden. Giving money from those who have to those that don't. $500 a year is
Those who
a step too far.
based on their credit score.
Yes.
Which means that they have been responsible. They've done what they are supposed to do.
Uh-huh. Because
You
they
have done what
have
you're supposed to
the
do.
money and they have the luck.
No. You have done what you're supposed to do in order to move up in the world.
Yes.
Now, for doing that,
yes,
we're penalizing you.
That's not a penalty. It's a fee. It's not penalty.
No, there's no difference.
Then is the tax brackets getting higher, the more money you have, a penalty? Under your ideology, they would be. Make more money, you have to pay more taxes. Why am I made $60,000 last year, and now I took on a good job. Now I'm at $100,000, and I'm in the higher tax bracket, and now I'm punished with higher taxes.
It's not a penalty, and the reason is because the brackets are designed so that up to your a certain bracket, you still pay the same amount in taxes. So when you made $60,000, you paid the 12% tax bracket, right? You paid 12% on that $60,000 for your taxes. And then when you moved up to $100,000, That
Hmm.
first $60,000 is still only taxed at 12%. It's only the extra money that you made above 60,000 that's taxed at a higher rate.
Sounds like I'm being punished for making more money.
No, you're
Okay,
not.
great. Well, you're not being then under that for that same reason that I'm saying that this high.
Having a high credit score is not the same thing as making more money.
They
It's not.
are
As much as you want to
severely
equate them,
connected.
it's
They
not.
are severely connected.
They might be connected. They might correlate to one another, but they are not the same thing. And also, that tax bracket thing
Hmm.
is that you're still paying the same taxes on that $60,000. If you go above that, then on that $60,000, you're still paying the same amount. It's now you're making a little more money, and that extra money is now taxed at a slightly higher rate,
Okay.
right? It has nothing to do with
And if you want a
making
little more expensive house, then you have to pay a little bit more in the fees. I don't
only
see this. You've described it a few
only
times now, and I don't see a
no.
difference. I honestly don't. I'm not trying to be
If you
stubborn.
want a little
I
more
just don't see
expensive
it.
house, you have to pay the fee,
Uh huh.
but only if you're a person who is already responsible with their money.
Right.
Well,
Right. Yes. I'm saying
no,
unironically yes. Because
you're a
either.
person who pays their debts,
Uh huh.
who has been responsible with their
Yes.
credit cards.
Yes. You are a
You
boon
want
to
to get
our
a
country.
mortgage.
I salute you. Good job. I'm happy you're here.
Good job. Pay
Continue.
more, bitch.
Carry more. You are capable of carrying more, so you
Carry
should
harder.
carry
Carry
more.
harder, bro.
Carry
You're
harder. Carry harder equates to
it's
this
entirely
sentence.
socialist.
And you are suggesting you don't want to carry harder, even though you're able. You're opting out of that first half, from each according to his ability. So that first sentence, that first half, from each according to his ability, is exactly what we're looking at with this right here. The high credit score proves that you are able. It proves that you have the ability, either through wisdom or intelligence or the just having more money. You are now able, and you are using your ability to give to those who need. And that is why
Okay.
I don't care. That is why
If
I
you are
don't
going to
mind
punish a
this
person
thing.
for having
That's not
greater ability,
punishment.
no,
That's
it
not
is
punishment.
punishment.
No, it is
It
not.
literally is.
No, it's not.
Actually, you know what? If you are going to give somebody penalties, if you're going to impose penalties for having greater ability, why would anybody display greater ability?
Because they want more. I'm not taking their entire house away. Joe Biden's $40 a month isn't taking your entire house away. It's not forcing you to live somewhere else. It's not putting you in the poorhouse because you have the ability to pay it.
It's it, you're stuck on this $40 a month thing. Go
Because
back to the
it's
page.
because it's
No, stop.
exactly what we should be talking about.
Go back to it.
This isn't
It's
billions of dollars,
it's example $40 per month on a home loan of 400,000.
which is the
Right.
average within the country.
Uh
That's where we
huh.
started. So on average,
If you have a
it will
good credit
be
score,
$40 a month.
it means that when you buy a $250,000 home, if I were to take this number and extrapolate from that, you'd have an extra 25 a month on your mortgage.
Yes.
Or if you're in a more expensive part of the country and you buy a $600,000 home, now you're paying $60 a
60 more
month
bucks a month.
extra on your mortgage.
Yet we
Right?
have millions of people,
That's
so we need to work with averages.
uh-huh.
The reason they put this here is because it's an average.
This is not okay. These people are people that have contributed to society
Yes.
and
Thank you.
they
They have ability, do they not?
they've shown that they will pay their debts back.
Because they have the ability, either through wisdom, intelligence, or money.
Because they have the ability, maybe.
If paying your
In
debts on
fact, yes,
time
they have
is
the
an
ability.
ability, would you say that paying your debts on time is an ability? Either you have to be smart enough to do it, or you have to be willing to wear those Walmart shoes, to wear those cheap clothes, to cut those coupons. That is an ability. That is a willingness of you. It is a strength.
That is a measure of a person's will. That's literally
Yes.
the that is literally what I'm talking about. You get
Yes.
what you earn.
Strong people earn more. I'm on board with this. But that doesn't mean that they get to then abandon everyone else.
So you're saying that because some people are strong,
Mm-hmm.
they should be compelled by law carry those who are not.
They should be compelled by regulation to carry those that can't.
By law.
It's fine. I would prefer regulation because I don't think
Well,
because they
it's
can
law.
choose. You don't have a choice on uh, most laws. You do have a choice in buying this house. The choice the saving up and buying this house was the choice you made. You don't have a choice in speed limit laws. Okay, so that's why I'm calling it regulation. This is not just
So
me
what
trying to
you're saying
soften the
is that
blow.
if we don't want to be subject to the extra money to pay, then we should just be renters for life, never own anything.
You can choose that if you so choose. If this extra money is so absolutely unacceptable to you, you can choose not to buy the house. Or you can choose to buy a cheaper house. Or you can choose to work an extra 3 or 4 hours to afford that $40 a month. You have choice. You have freedom. Because I want freedom. I like freedom. I think it's a good idea.
Do you think that why is it that you only assign this sort of freedom to people who are responsible with their money and who are working hard for their salary or their paycheck, and
Because
not to the people that have fucked up their credit score and are not responsible with their money?
they were lacking in ability somewhere, either through education or wisdom or just simple bad luck. They have lacked the ability to have a high credit score. Now, we can try and fix that problem. I'm not saying it's not a problem. I'm not suggesting that we abandon them and just put everything on the strongest person that we have. But I want those people to be increased in their wisdom, increased in their education, increased in their understanding, and help them to get out of the predatory nature that I think capitalism is.
Oh,
Capitalism
so
is.
so so do you think these people? Well, then I guess it comes to a critical question then
Mm-hmm.
is, do you think that these people are inherently incapable, whether it's any number of factors, are they incapable
A
of making
percentage of
good
them are.
decisions?
A percentage of them are because they're either disabled. I mean, if you are born with, if you have, if you're paraplegic, you are inherently without ability, right? So,
In
uh,
some way, in
in
one
some
way,
way,
yeah.
if you drank fucking lead your entire life and you make bad decisions, I would say you are inherently going to make bad decisions. If you have a lower IQ because your house was painted in lead or you drank water from lead pipes, yes, the people who are able should subsidize you to an extent, not completely, but some.
Which
A
we already do,
which we
and
already
this is
do.
an additional amount.
Yes, it is because we're not doing enough of it right now. They didn't make this decision just to fuck you. They made this decision because they needed this money. And how do they get that money? You can't get it from poor people. You can't take money from poor people. They don't have any. So they found a
If they need the extra money,
measuring stick.
then
They
they should have
found a
done it just
measuring
through
stick.
taxes. I'll tell you what this is they didn't want to announce an increase in taxes.
Entirely
So
possible.
they made a new
That is
rule
a political choice that I think that you probably could be right.
through the Federal Housing Finance Agency to
Right.
find a way to charge more money for something
Yes.
in order to redistribute that wealth.
Yes, entirely
Even from
possible.
people, by the way, poor people can have credit scores over 680.
I severely doubt that many do. I think that that's the 1%. I'm willing to bet that poor people do not have high credit scores.
Jesus, when are you sending me my plaque?
You aren't poor.
I was.
If you're paying your bills on time and you have some left over to save, you are not poor. Bar none. I'm still thinking over the sentence in my head. Yes, if you have enough to pay all your bills and save, you are not poor.
Having enough to pay your bills and save is entirely contingent on your spending choices. Being poor is a matter of your actual income.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a person that is making $30,000 a year and you're able to save on $30,000 a year, that does not make you less poor than the person that's making $50,000 a year who is not saving that money. That's bullshit.
I suspect that there is some variant there. Yes, if you're uh, making 30 and living below your means and paying all your bills and saving stuff, you are wise, and that's going to lead you to get out of poverty. If you are making 50,000 and wasting it all and taking out payday loans and have a terrible credit score, you are not wise. You are poor. You can, if you beat the odds. I like this term. The data show low earners can beat the odds and earn good credit scores. So if you have very little money, you have to beat the odds to have a good
because
credit
people
score.
that have very little money are fucking idiots with their money.
So they're
And it's
choosing
not
to be
my
poor.
fault that they are.
I'm not saying it's your
They
fault.
literally choose it.
I don't care if it's your fault or not. Why does fault have anything to do with it?
Because you're penalizing me for it.
No, I'm having you carry a load. You have the ability to carry more, so I'm asking you to carry more.
And
And
I
you're
don't
trying to
want
opt out. That's fine. You are part of a society. We need to determine who
It's actually
needs
funny.
to pick it
To
up
the
or
right.
not.
Part of a series on Marxism
What is? Oh, that thing that I clicked
on
on?
your Wikipedia page.
What about it? Yeah, it's Marxism. Did you not notice that? I've
I
been
did.
pushing Marxism for an hour now.
I know you have, and
Okay.
I'm saying no.
I
No,
know. You don't like Marxism.
I don't.
I do.
I think that Marxism is a way to push for a person to receive things that they have not earned on the behalf of people that have earned something. You get what you earn. Does it make more sense now? I know it didn't make sense at the start of the stream.
You get what you earn. Sometimes, no, you said you worked hard enough to be a millionaire, and you're not, which means you did not get what you earned.
No, I did. I worked hard enough to get where I'm at.
Okay, great. And
If I worked, if I was luckier, I could be a millionaire. If I was less lucky, I could be less wealthy than I am right now.
so you don't even believe you
But
get what you earn.
I do, though. That's the
No,
thing, though. Is I do believe you get what you earn. There is an aspect of luck, yes.
but there's also
However,
1,000 things that happen to you that have nothing to do with you.
so
So that's you also get a
and
lot of things that you didn't ask for. You get a lot of things you didn't earn. You get a lot of
control what
bad
you
luck.
can. Control what you can,
Okay.
and let luck fall as it may. And sometimes, yes, there are unlucky people.
Okay, great.
I will say that the majority of people are not poor because they are unlucky. They are poor because they make bad decisions.
Because capitalism is a shit system that leads to bad decisions. Capitalism is the system we live in, and it is causing poverty.
Totally ridiculous.
It
Totally ridiculous. In
in
fact,
the
capitalism is responsible for lifting more people out of poverty than any other system in history.
and it still can't lift some of them. So we need to improve it. I'm not saying throw it out. I'm saying improve it. Capitalism 2, the sequel. Capitalism 2, where we take the people who are able and we charge them a little bit and we give it to the people who need it. And we'll call it Capitalism 2. And it'll make those poor people a little bit better off. And it'll give them some breathing room so that they can learn to make better decisions.
I disagree entirely.
I know.
Because
because
capitalism too is going to
it's just socialism.
is going to encourage bad decision making.
No.
It's, hey, if you make bad decisions, then we are going to just subsidize you anyway.
A little bit.
We'll give you money.
A little bit.
A lot of it.
A little bit.
A lot of it. Let's be
No.
real.
No,
I
I'm
mean,
being real. $40 a month isn't much.
$40 a month.
$500 a
You
year.
already do.
$500 a year ain't much.
It's not just the $40 a month, though, is it?
It's a little bit from those with the
No,
ability
because
that goes to the people who
on
need
top
it.
of that, then on top of that, you're already taxed on income.
Mm-hmm.
You're taxed anytime you make a purchase. You have sales tax.
Mm-hmm.
We're constantly being taxed.
Yes.
Exactly. When you
You are
sell,
constantly
buy,
being
pay,
taxed.
get paid. When you give someone your property, you're getting fucking
Yes.
taxed. And this is another thing on top of that. That's, oh hey, you have a good credit score. You're somebody that actually you don't have to be rich to make this choice. You're somebody that is middle or lower middle class who is taking a $400,000 mortgage out,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a credit score over 680.
Mm-hmm.
And now, hey, fuck you. You get to pay more, bitch.
Yes, you do. Because
Are
you
you
are
fucking with
capable.
me?
No, I'm not fucking with you. Because you are capable. You have more.
Do you think that this could result in people not being capable of
If it does,
taking out
then
that
the
loan?
tax has gone too far. If the government taxes so far that it's putting people back into poverty, then it has gone too far, and we need to put the car in R and drive it backward.
I think we need to drive a lot backward.
I know
here.
you do. You want to drive backward a lot. All of these
I'm
situations
trying
that
to
are in this
escape
meme,
the collapsing bridge.
this meme right here, all of these are economic things, aren't they? Owning a vehicle, you bought it with money through the economy. When you sell
Now
something,
it's mine,
economy.
and the government
Buy
says
something,
that
economy.
I don't
Pay
just
an
get to own
employee,
it.
economy.
I'm
Get
actually
paid,
renting it from the
economy.
government.
Someone, money or property, economy. When you die, that one might not be economy. When you work extra hard, economy. When you own property, economy.
Well, I'll ask you this: I bought a vehicle, and
With money, economy,
it's
great.
my
Capitalism, okay.
money. Yeah, I bought it.
Well, okay.
I've paid it off entirely.
Okay.
The government is now charging me on a monthly basis for owning that vehicle.
Possibly, okay.
Do I own that vehicle?
Do you own that vehicle? Yes. You said you
Or
bought it and you paid for it.
I bought it and paid for it, but
Uh-huh.
now I'm actually still paying for it to
Through
an entity.
taxes. Yes.
Do I own it, or does the government own it?
You
And
own it. Why are you trying to bend things
oh, I do.
around?
So
Yes.
so if
You
I
have to pay
stop paying
taxes
the
on the things
government,
you own.
if I stop paying the government, will I retain my ability to drive that thing around?
If you don't pay for the registration, then you will be driving it illegally. It still works and it's still yours. And you're still responsible for it. The government doesn't own your car as much as the
if I'm
libertarians would
required to pay
suggest.
the government
Uh-huh. For
for
being a part
owning
of
my
society.
car,
You're not paying for the car. You're paying
it's for owning my car.
no, it's not. It's for
It is.
being a member of this society. That's what you're
If
paying
I
for.
don't own my car
Uh-huh.
and I request an Uber for everywhere I go,
Uh-huh.
I don't pay a
You
tax.
pay
I
taxes
don't
on
pay a
Uber.
property tax on that.
You don't pay a property tax because you don't
I
own
own
that
my
property.
car.
You're riding in somebody else's property.
I own my car,
Uh-huh.
and I can go wherever I want. And the government says, because you own this big hunk of metal,
Mm-hmm.
you have to pay money for that.
Yes, you are including it
That's
within
bullshit.
our society. You are driving on all of the roads that the government paid for. You are weaving in and out of traffic in a public place with
Yeah,
the
we have a gas tax
potential
for that.
to run someone over.
That's what the gas tax is for.
So what?
And yeah,
All the
Kyle, I can
taxes go
drive
towards the
my
thing.
property. I can drive my car on my property. The thing is that
When you take
if
it
I
into
only
public,
drive the car on my property, I still pay a property tax on the car.
yeah, you do. Because you're a
That is
part of
ridiculous.
society. Society costs money. I mean,
It
that's,
costs money.
and if, where are we going to get the money? From the people participating in society. If you choose not to participate within society, you could, mostly, somewhat. You can choose not to own cars. You can choose not to own a house. You can choose to live on the street, somewhat. I know it depends on where you are, really.
Yeah, and then I'll be a taker. And
Right. And then you
all
are
of you
not
people,
participating in society.
all of you people can pay me
We
to
don't pay those people.
yeah, you
Your
do.
taxes are not paying to house a homeless person. I think they should. And I would say that you have the ability to pay for the thing, and we should give it to those who have the need. But it's not happening right now. There is a balance to be had. I don't think, I think that even this sentence, as good as I think it is, and as much as I appreciate it, can go too far. But it hasn't gone far enough yet.
I think it's already gone too far.
I think capitalism has gone too far, and those people who are living on the street are doing it because capitalism has forced it on them. The people who are poor are doing that not because they chose it, but because capitalism has forced it on them. I think that people who are bad with money, even the ones that are making bad decisions, are there because they have been harmed by capitalism.
People who are making bad decisions are there because they're making bad decisions.
I mean, why did they make it a bad decision? Because they don't know any better. Why did they not know better? Either because they weren't educated, which is a capitalism problem, or they have low IQ points because of the fucking lead thing, which is again a capitalism problem.
Stop. No.
Yes,
They
everything comes
they
back to
made those bad decisions.
capitalism.
No, it doesn't.
Everything does.
In fact, if we were harsher with our consequences for actions, then less people would make bad decisions.
No, they'd just be punished for those decisions.
It's not even a punishment. It's just we're not gonna.
Wait, if you do a thing and the consequences are negative, that's not a punishment. But Joe Biden tacking a $40 fee is a punishment.
If you do a thing and the cost, that's so vague. First of
I know,
all,
I'm being very vague, but
you're
like I'm trying to figure out what you're talking
it's
about.
wrong on the basis of being vague. It's if you make a choice that
A
results in
bad financial
you,
choice.
if you make a bad financial choice that results in a bad financial situation
Uh-huh.
for you,
Uh-huh.
that is not a punishment that is being handed down by the government
I agree.
or
And you accept
for the
those.
actions
You
that you
think there
took.
should be worse consequences.
Yeah, because right
Bad
now,
financial decisions should have worse consequences than they do currently.
yeah,
That is the stance you suggested a moment ago.
uh
That's acceptable to you.
that is not the same thing as imposing punishments to people.
I
That
am
no,
shocked and
but
amazed that you would say that that's
hold on.
acceptable, but this Joe Biden 40 bucks isn't acceptable.
In allowing allowing people to make stupid choices
Uh-huh.
is not the same thing as imposing a punishment for people that make correct choices.
I would agree those are two different things.
They are.
Joe Biden isn't punishing anybody.
He is.
No.
He is punishing you for having a credit score of over 680 and you want to buy a house.
I disagree with the sentence. He's not punishing you. You have more, so you have to pay more.
That again, you don't have to have more to have a good credit score.
Yes, you do.
No, you don't.
You have to have more intelligence, or you have to have more wisdom, or you have to have more money.
Well, I'm talking money.
Well,
You don't have to
great.
have your
Money requires
no.
decisions. We
So
have
wait
said
a
the word
second. You're
decision
saying
100 million
that
times.
if I'm some autistic savant, that technically I have more.
You
So
have something.
so therefore, if I use that, then I should then I am contributing a greater amount, and more should be taken from me
Wouldn't that you call
on
that
that
an
basis.
ability?
That's
Yes. If
totally
you are
ridiculous.
completely autistic and have some sort of a mental abnormality that makes you good at the stock market, is that not an ability? That would be an ability. If you use your autistic brain to make billions on the stock market, I don't mind calling that an ability and charging you a fee to help those in need. I think I'm being consistent here.
I don't think you are.
The wisdom
I
to
think
pay
that
your
you
bills on
have
time
taken.
is
I
an
think that
ability.
what you've done is
Hmm.
you've taken ability
Hmm.
and you have made it so broad and vague.
It is intended to be. I'm intending it to be broad and vague. If
Then
you
you're
are
admitting
good,
to it.
yes,
You've made it so broad and vague that it's impossible to actually determine who it is that should be paying more and why.
right. You need some sort of measuring stick. Here's one.
You do, and you know what measuring sticks are not?
What?
They're not vague.
No, they're not. You need a measuring stick.
680 or higher.
Proves your ability.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
It does not. It
100%. Oh,
proves
I am going to
no.
town on this one.
All it proves is that you have taken debts and you've made your payments on time. That's
Based
all
on
it is.
your mental
It means you've been
ability.
responsible. It's your ability to be
Responsibility is an
responsible.
ability.
That's it.
The word ability exists within responsibility.
But hold on a
Boss.
second. No, it doesn't. And and
Ability,
first of all,
right? It's almost
no, you're
ability.
being ridiculous.
Ability. I'm not being silly.
You are being ridiculous. You're
We
having
even
credit score of
pronounce
680
it. Okay.
is a measure of your responsibility.
Yes.
It is not a measure of your financial situation. It actually
What?
is not. You can be poor and still have a credit score above 680.
If you have the ability to make those difficult choices, if you have the ability, if you have the wisdom and the intelligence to be above 680. That's why they use the vague word ability right there. That's why I keep pointing back to it. If you are responsible enough to have above a 680, you have an ability that others don't. Can we teach other people those abilities? Yes. Can I teach someone to play? Do you, Thomas, have the ability to play the trumpet? No. But could you? Yes. Could I teach someone to be better with their money? Yes. If you know what credit scores are, and you comprehend them, and you know how to raise it, and you know how to cut corners so that you can raise your credit score, that is an ability.
We already covered that topic though.
Yes.
With the kids in school, in high school, can I get $1.25? And then again,
I
can
mean,
I get a
that's
buck 25?
that's your credit. Does
That's
that
your credit.
kid have the ability to get the $1.25? If the answer is no, he does not have the ability to get it because he's 7 years old and doesn't have a job and doesn't have any parents with money, then he does not have the ability to make that $1.25. And giving it to him the first time would have been a bad idea because you are not going to get it back.
It is a
That's
bad idea.
fine. That's credit
And
score.
and
I
then
dig what
and
credit
then
scores are. But you need ability to pay off that, to raise that credit score, either mental, physical, or economical ability.
and so the second time he asks for, can I get a $1.25?
No, because you haven't paid it off last time because your credit score is so low.
Okay.
You have
Well,
no credit.
in in this case, it's, hold on a second. Thomas has a $1.25,
Hmm.
and he's always paid his $1.25.
He always has. He's got
So
a very high credit score. He
we're
has
gonna
the
now
ability to get that buck
we're now
25.
requiring Thomas
Yes.
to essentially give you the money for that
Those going, yeah.
item.
But guess what? I wouldn't push that uh, policy for gummy worms. I would push it for human beings living in houses.
That it's not the same thing. No,
You,
no.
gummy worms are superfluous. Housing is not. So, yes,
Housing.
I agree with your analogy so far. We should
Okay.
not rob Thomas to pay for somebody else's gummy worms. I agree. Don't rob Thomas. I don't want you to pay a fee to pay for gummy worms for the people who
Interesting.
are not
So you agree this is
smart
robbery?
enough. I agree that it is a fee based solely on need. No one needs gummy worms. So the need for gummy worms is very, 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 very small. So the burden I'm going to put on you as a very able person is going to be less because it's based on gummy worms. But it is going to increase if it's things that people need, maybe insulin or a house.
I have a question for you.
Sure,
Do I have to subsidize somebody else's property ownership?
you have to subsidize somebody else's property ownership. They're going to subsidize their
So
own
this is
property
all for
ownership.
mortgages. This is,
Right.
people can have shelter, right? They have a right to shelter, sure, as a human right.
Great. Shelter costs money.
It
Because we live in a
does.
capitalist society, every inch of the country is owned by someone, and they have very many fucked up, goofy laws that determine what can be put on each inch of that land.
Uh-huh. And I understand that I already pay taxes so that we can operate homeless shelters. And I already pay taxes so that we can operate Section 8 housing. And I already pay taxes so that people can rent property at a cheaper rate from somebody else. Are all those things true?
Yes.
Yes, they are. This is saying that when I purchase property, I pay an extra penalty so that somebody else who should not be, or who does not have the credit score to take a loan out,
Hmm.
is going to purchase property. I am subsidizing subprime loans
You're
in this
subsidizing
case.
the people getting homes.
I am subsidizing subprime loans. I am, they can get a home
That
without owning it.
that framework that you laid out is a choice that you made. You choose to see it as a punishment.
Worked my entire life so I can have a good credit score.
Uh-huh.
And I want to buy a house. It's my first house, and I'm
Great.
starting a family. I want to buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Florida.
Uh-huh.
I get to pay extra money now
Yes.
because
Because you have a
other
shitload of
people,
ability, my man. You just described a whole shitload of ability.
it, it, this is, I'm literally talking about
You described ability to me.
Okay, and you're going to penalize me because I have ability.
No, I'm going to take from you to help those who
Same
need.
that the two
You are
penalize and
choosing.
take from.
You are choosing to call that
What's
a
the
penalty.
difference?
There is a difference. You're choosing to call it a penalty. You're framing it as a penalty. I'm
Is it
saying that
not?
it's not. It's
Is it
not.
conditional upon certain circumstances? So first of all,
Of course it is.
a penalty is always contingent upon certain circumstances being met, right?
Usually doing
So
something
if
wrong.
I do something wrong, I
We
get penalized
penalize.
for it,
Yes.
right? And
Right.
that penalty comes in the form of maybe I get fined, right? Or maybe I get imprisoned.
Penalties. A fine for
That
breaking the
the
law is a
penalty
penalty.
is okay. So
I
something that
agree.
is a punishment or a extra cost for an extra cost for performing an action is a penalty, right?
Well,
Something
hang
we
on, hang on,
impose
hang
upon
on,
you.
hang on. No. If you choose to buy a stock and they charge you a tax, that's not a penalty. Not a penalty. If I chose to take my 401k money out early, I have to pay a penalty. I could probably see that as a penalty. If I
How is that different
choose,
from
because you're doing something wrong. You're doing something
it's
unexpected. You're doing something that no one wanted you to do that isn't helpful.
it's wrong to take your money?
No. You
It's
have a
wrong
lot of
to take your
ability,
money?
and we have people in the society who don't. So we are going to charge you a fee according to your ability and give to the people who need. Yes, you are framing that as a penalty. You are choosing for that to be called a penalty. And I don't agree with your definition there. You're choosing that to be a penalty.
It is actually, you know what? I'll say this. It's a result of an action.
Yes.
A penalty, by definition, is as a result of an action,
No.
right?
No.
Yes.
It has the word penal right in it.
You're saying that
Pe-
penalties are not the result of actions.
penalties are uh,
I mean, you just looked up penalty, and the best part
penalty.
was when it gave
It went to
sports
sports.
definitions.
Sports
You
definition. Because you
you
did something wrong, man.
you did something
A
wrong, and you get a
punishment
penalty
imposed
for
for
it.
breaking the law, rule, or contract. Penalty. A
Uh-huh.
punishment imposed for breaking a law, rule, or contract. This fine or fee is not a penalty under this definition. The fact that you keep
Well,
calling it a penalty means
I
that you
I will
are
I'm going
framing
to
it
blow your
as
mind right now.
such. Okay.
I'm going to blow your mind right now.
Okay.
The only reason these are penalties is because we imposed penalties upon breaking certain rules, right? So now, what this is creating is a new rule that says if you have a credit score over 680 and you want to buy a house, we are going to punish you.
Not a
We are
punishment,
going
not a
to
penalty.
we are
It's
going
just
to
not.
impose a greater
In possession, yes. I'm on board. In possession.
we are going to give you a higher payment per month for
Yes.
that house.
Yes.
And the reason that this is being imposed
Mm-hmm.
is because you have performed an action. And that action is
Having greater
you
ability.
paid your debts on time.
Having greater ability.
No. It's you
Yes.
paid your it has nothing to do with ability.
It has
It's
everything to
you
do with
paid your
ability.
debts on time.
110% this has to do with ability. If you
You
have a
were
680
responsible.
score, responsibility. You
You
have the
were
ability.
responsible. You paid your debts. And now, because you paid your debts, we're going to impose a
Yes.
fee upon you.
Yes.
That is, by
Unironically,
definition,
yes.
a penalty.
No. It is not a penalty. Penalty is when you break the rules or the law or a contract. None of those things apply to a
Okay.
fee for people with a higher credit score. You have a higher credit score, your ability is increased above the others in your society. It's not like they're aliens. Like, these are other people within your society. These are other people that you have to live near. These are other people that are Americans. And I don't mind using my ability to carry them forward.
To what?
What?
To what?
To the future. I'm going to use my ability to put that car in D and move forward. And yeah, it's going to take some gas, and it's going to take some effort, and it's going to take some work, but we will move forward into the future.
It doesn't make sense.
How does it not make sense? Have you ever seen those Tough Mudder competitions?
I've been in one.
Okay, great. And if there were a handicapped person there, what would happen? What happens to the people who are less able at those competitions? Do you know?
Oh, I do. I mean, we help them over
You help them
the obstacles,
over.
right?
Damn
Yeah,
it.
I get it. I mean, I see
You
where
are
you're going with this.
helping them. You have more ability than that person.
Question
And
for you. Hold
they
on.
need
No,
the help.
no, 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 no.
Okay?
Question for you.
Sure.
Is the helping over of that person compelled?
No.
No, it's not. It's something we do voluntarily, right?
Right.
So it's not analogous.
It is entirely analogous
No, it's not.
because
It's not
you
analogous because what you're suggesting is
uh-huh.
something that's imposed by the government on a on a
It's imposed
use of
on a
force
go.
basis.
It's
If
yes.
you don't follow the rules,
Yes.
you're gonna get fined to oblivion and put in jail. I've been in a
Yes.
Tough Mudder. I've helped
Yes.
people out, and
And
when a handicapped person comes over, if somebody ignores that and chooses to move on without helping that person, nobody penalizes them for that. Are you?
I agree
That
with
is
that so
the
far.
entire.
You don't know everybody in the country. You don't know every poor person that exists. You help
Neither do
that.
you.
No. So we have to have a government and fucking measuring sticks, don't we? We have to have a government. We have to have rules. We have to have guidelines. We have to have measuring sticks.
I will
That
say that
measuring
the
stick,
measuring stick of credit score is not adequate.
because you're on the other end of the measuring stick. You're on the higher end of this measuring stick, saying that we shouldn't use this as a measuring stick.
No, we shouldn't.
Right. But I think
I've
it's a damn good measuring stick. I think it's
It's
a
a
great
terrible
measuring
one
stick. How do you
because,
figure it?
as I have continued to repeat, you can be poor and have a good credit score.
Because you have some sort of ability.
It's so ridiculous.
How is
I
that
and I'm
ridiculous? If you are poor and you have a good credit score, how does that happen? Describe it to me. I have very little money, but I have a great credit score. How did I get that way?
I paid my debts on time.
You have the ability to
I
pay your
made
debts.
my payments.
You have the ability to make your payments because of your job
Everyone does,
or because of your
unless
intelligence or your knowledge or your wisdom. I'm
unless
suggesting
they
that,
are
that
exceedingly poor,
your parents were poor.
which
You
I
told
was
me.
not.
And they had the wisdom. That is an ability to pay their stuff on time. They had the wisdom to cut those coupons. They had the wisdom to buy cheaper stuff so that they could save for later and move up the ladder. That is an
To do what they
ability.
had to
That's an
live
ability.
as a family of three with a relative in a one-bedroom apartment. Yeah,
Yes, that is an ability.
that's what we did.
Yes. Wisdom is an ability. Intelligence is an ability.
What you're suggesting here is that because we have that ability,
Mm-hmm. You have
we now
less
get to pay
need.
more for
You
people that
have
did not do that.
you have less need.
It's a matter of sacrifice. Is
What's ability versus need?
no, it's my family
Uh-huh.
sacrificed to get to where we are now.
Yes. They had that ability.
Gave up a lot.
They sacrifice. They had
right?
the ability to sacrifice to get to where they are. And
You're
if I,
saying that
yes, if I
people
have
that
nothing to
did not
sacrifice,
sacrifice.
or people who
I
don't
We didn't
have
have anything to
anything to
sacrifice
sacrifice,
either. I mean,
well, then you
I
didn't
mean,
sacrifice anything. If you didn't, okay, if you didn't sacrifice anything, then you didn't sacrifice to get to where you are. If you have nothing to sacrifice,
you're
you can't
misunderstanding what I'm
sacrifice
saying.
it.
Uh, I did not live in a single family home, for example, in those years because we didn't have the money to do that.
Right. I understand that.
I
But
also,
if your parents also had a high credit score, it's because they had the ability somewhere else. They had capability somewhere.
uh, no, the result of the high credit score is because we made those choices, and we we made those choices, and that resulted in having a high credit score.
Yes.
It's
I
it's
agree
it's
with you so
not
far.
spending beyond
But
your
you're
means.
you're not calling that ability. You're not calling that wisdom or intelligence.
No, I'm calling that sacrifice.
Great, you had the ability to sacrifice. If I have nothing to sacrifice, my credit score will suffer.
Okay. Did my family have anything to sacrifice?
You said they did. You said they sacrificed.
They did. Yeah.
There are
We
people who
could have
have nothing to sacrifice.
we could have lived
Sacrifice means giving something
beyond
up.
we could have lived beyond our means, right?
Yes,
And racked up all kinds of debt
you could have.
and lived a very lavish life for a little while.
Short term, sure.
And then after all that happened and it all came crumbling down, now you're saying that the people who were responsible now have to subsidize us?
Yes,
Why?
because you didn't have the ability to be responsible. Ability is the crux of this entire discussion, and you're just not paying attention to it. Your parents had ability, whether it was intelligence or knowledge or financial. It wasn't financial, the way you're telling me the story. So it was knowledge and intelligence. It was the knowledge that if we sacrifice today, we could be better tomorrow. That is an ability. So they had, according to you, a high credit score and no money. If there is a person who has a high credit score and no money, they have ability. And they can be fined. And this doesn't hurt them because they have the
It
ability.
does.
No, it doesn't.
It
They
absolutely does.
have the ability to get past it. They have the ability. They have proven they have the ability. How do we know they have the ability to pay this extra money? We know they have the ability because they have a high credit score. That high credit score is nothing but a measuring stick in this situation. Measuring stick of ability. That high credit score is a measuring stick of ability. Do you disagree with that sentence? This sentence. Okay, let's stop discussing every single thing. I'm going to say a sentence, and you tell me if you think that it's a correct sentence. Credit score measures your ability.
No.
No. How does it not measure your ability? You get a high credit score by paying your stuff on time, which means you're able to do so. You get a high credit score by having enough money to pay your bills. You get a high credit score by being intelligent enough to take out the loans properly under the right circumstances with the right percentages. And I mean, there's certain like Sears cards or something like that that would have like a 20% fucking thing. That's a dumbass idea, right? It's a dumb idea to take out a 20% credit card, right?
Of course.
Okay, so you would not be a smart person. Smart ability. You see where I'm going with this? So the credit score
I understand where you're going with
is
it.
not a measure of ability. in
What
your
I'm
worldview.
saying is that that is not my responsibility. If you make bad choices,
Hmm.
it is not my responsibility to subsidize your bad choices. You have the freedom to make those choices. I should also have the freedom to say, you made your choices, you live with them.
That's why we need a government to do it. Well, I'll go back to the Tough Mudder. It's not my responsibility that this guy showed up at Tough Mudder with only one leg. It's not my responsibility. He made his choices. He showed up at Tough Mudder today with one leg, and he can't get over that wall. It's not my responsibility. I agree.
Again,
Which
and
is
I've
why we need
already
a
told you about
large
this,
system.
up. Again, that
Systems.
person, when they are helped,
Hmm.
is helped by people who make the choice to help.
I
The
know.
difference is when we have a government, this is not making the choice. This is compulsory.
Yes, it is compulsory. I'm
It is
saying that it
it is
is.
not compulsory for a person to stop and help that one-legged guy over the wall.
I
It
know it's
is
not.
a choice that person makes. That's
Yes.
the difference. You are saying that we should compel every person to stop and help that guy over the wall.
I'm saying that we need a system of compelling. We need a system to compel someone to pay their auto property tax. We need a system that is
That
entirely
you're
non
already talking past the sale there.
we need a system to put these things
To,
together because you don't know all
we
the
need a system to
legless
compel
people.
people to pay the auto property tax. You're
Yes.
already talking past the sale because the sale is, should people be paying an auto property tax? And the answer to me is no. You pay your shit off, it's yours.
What did you pay it with?
Who gives a fuck?
You paid it with a government note, didn't you? You
What if
paid
I
it with
suck
a.
your dick to have my auto property? Now, since I didn't pay for it with a government note,
Did we
do I now
trade
not
for
have to
that?
tax? What?
That seems like a service for trade. You paid
Well,
it
that's
with
what the
dollar
note
bills.
is.
Yes, dollar
That's what
bills
the note is. The
set out
note
by the
is
government.
um,
You're
it,
upset when the government does money things, but the government does money things. It's what they do.
the money is a representation of value.
The money is a government representation of value.
It is a representation of value that is supposed to be standardized throughout a particular region. So
Standardized
for
between a
us, it's
region, my
throughout the United
man.
States.
Who
Yes,
does
it's
standards
standardized.
and regions? Governments do standards and regions.
The
We we only have a
your
region
entire
because
analogy is or not analogy, but this whole line of argumentation is totally nonsensical.
I'm telling
What you
you
are doing
that you
is
are using government
nonsensical.
words. You're using government words and saying I don't want to be a part of the government. I don't want to be a part of government. I used the government money to pay off this device that was built by under government regulations. Why has the government got anything to do with this?
Okay.
You're
Um,
sounding insane to me.
if we used government money to purchase an item,
The money only dollar bills don't
then
come up
that
out of the
item
ground.
is never actually ours. That's what you're saying.
Why are you getting this? You are a part of our society and you are a citizen of this government. You have responsibilities and they will ask from you certain things to be a part of the society, to be a citizen of the government. There are requirements and responsibilities to being one of these citizens. And right now, Fannie and Freddie are asking those citizens who are able to give more. And I think that's entirely acceptable.
Don't blame Fannie and Freddie.
Don't blame them, Joe Biden. Fine. Joe Biden himself, personally, is asking you, the well off, he is asking the able. Joe Biden is asking people who are able to give more. And I think that's fine.
Just to be clear,
because
what
I
you are
like
suggesting
this. Uh-huh.
is that people who do not have good credit scores
Uh-huh.
are literally incapable of having a good credit score.
For one reason or another, yes.
So, even if it's just the result of their own decisions,
Those decisions were based on bad info or unluckiness or just plain stupidity. Yes. If you're stupid, if you're dumb, and you make bad decisions and your credit score goes down, you are less able.
that is wild.
I
Um,
know it is.
when did you start advocating for eugenics?
I didn't suggest that they should be murdered. I'd suggest that we educate them through a large
I
government
mean,
system where we
what you're
tax the
suggesting
rich
here
and teach the
is that
poor.
is that we have immutable characteristics.
Immutable characteristics? No, stupid and dumb usually isn't immutable characteristics. I never suggested that they were unteachable. If I suggested that low credit scores are because you are unteachable and you cannot learn, then I would be closer to what you're just suggesting. But the people who less able are less able due to physical, mental, or economical reasons. If they're making these bad decisions with money because they have a lower IQ or they have a lesser ability, I don't mind people who have a higher ability being asked and even regulated. I'm all right with regulating it as well to pay to subsidize. I think we're never going to agree on this point.
Possibly not. I think what you're taking on right now is very dangerous. I think the position you're taking is potentially, um, assuming we remove the potential for, or we remove entirely the lead exposure argument.
Okay.
Uh, the argument that you're making is biologically deterministic almost.
How do you figure? I said physical. There's those three of them: economical, physical, and mental. Those are the three. There's a lot of abilities, but most of them are going to boil down to those three. If you have a low credit score, it's either because of a physical reason, a mental reason, or an economical reason.
Physical, no.
I mean,
Mental, maybe. Economical, yes.
there's no physical reason why you would have a low credit score.
No.
You live on government. You are disabled. That is a physical reason that you would have a low credit score.
No, it's not.
It's not. You are physically disabled.
Uh-huh.
You cannot go to work. You cannot earn any more money than you're already earning because you're probably on some sort of government disability
Okay.
and you only make X amount of money. So you
Uh,
cannot work harder. You do not have the ability to raise your credit score.
Under those conditions, how is it possible that you result in a low credit score?
Because you don't have enough money to pay all your bills. Or you skip paying one bill to pay a different one. Or you have to borrow money. Or you had to pay for a thrown rod in your car that you didn't expect. And
So
now you
you
have an extra bit of money you have to spend today.
so you spent more money than you have.
Yes.
Okay. And your suggestion is that people that spend more money than they have are doing it because they have no capacity
No, I'm suggesting they do it
to.
for three reasons: physical, mental, and economical. If you're spending more than you have, there's a reason for it. Some of those reasons are better than others. Paying for your insulin is a real good reason to go into debt. Yeah? Paying for
Sure.
paying for emergency surgery for your kids is a really good reason to go into debt.
Okay.
I mean, it's a reason that it happened that will lower your credit score.
That debt does not just happen. That debt is not something that immediately impacts your credit score. If you make your payments on that debt,
But I can't make those payments because this person is physically disabled. So there's a physical reason that they can't do it.
we have programs for that too.
Great. And who pays for those programs? Taxpayers.
I'm not
Man, like,
arguing that we shouldn't help people in those cases.
okay, great.
What I'm arguing is this is not the same thing.
It's exactly the same thing.
It's not at all. This
I,
is blanket. This is not for special circumstances. This is if you are a person who is shit with money, you get a break on mortgages, and a person that has been good with their money is now penalized for being good with money.
okay, we're going to leave it there because we're, I cannot get this through to you and you can't get it through to me. Um, you want, uh, I'm going to say one more thing and then you can finish it off. And then we're going to call it for today because it's 2 o'clock. Unless you want to go first, but I don't mind giving you the last word.
I'll go first. Uh,
Okay.
I'm gonna respond to Shin.
Okay.
Not all poor people, not all poor people are irresponsible with money. Stop with the overgeneralization. It is an overgeneralization. It is not, however, non-factual. And in fact, while it does not encompass all people, in fact, my family would be one that is not a poor family that is irresponsible with money. My family was a poor family that was actually responsible with money. What I was saying is my lived experience is I went to the most poor school in my area growing up. And I have seen how people spend their money. Uh, when I mentioned that my stuff came from Walmart and other students in the same school had their stuff coming from designer brands and their sneakers were $300 and whatnot. That was my example for how people are spending their money. It's I don't think that it is really an ability to purchase very cheap things rather than spend a ton of money on other things. I think that when you spend those money or when you spend that money on very expensive things that you don't need, when you could spend it on much cheaper things for the same value, you are making really bad, irresponsible choices. And I think that as someone who has lived that sacrifice of not purchasing those expensive things, I should not be therefore responsible for subsidizing the people that made the bad choices, who already had their cake, and now I have to pay so they can eat it too. That's it.
Okay, great. Um, well said. I do actually like the cake bit. Um, you saved up and didn't eat your cake, but they did, and now they want yours. I recognize how that could be uh,
Oh, it's fucking infuriating.
infuriating to you. It could be poorly planned on their part, and it could be because of failings that that person could have avoided,
Or their parents, to be fair.
or their parents could have avoided. Their parents didn't feed them, and now they want to eat your cake. I recognize and I
Or their parents
accept,
fed them, and now now they want mine that I've
and now they
earned.
want yours too. I recognize how that can be difficult, and I recognize how it could go wrong. I want to suggest again that your parents had ability. If you have a credit score above 680, you have some sort of ability, whether it's physically working harder or you are mentally capable of budgeting your time and money, or you are emotionally competent enough to not buy the thing you want right now and to save for the future. You have abilities if you are above 680. It's just all that's the I will not be moved on that point. You have the ability of some kind to get above 680. And because of that, I'm willing for the system that we live under, which is the government, to take from those with the ability and give to those in need. I'm okay with that. And that is the positions that we have to take. And sometimes, yeah, I mean, we can discuss that further, but I think this leads to the most freedom, in fact. But we've gone on for far too long. Entirely too
Oh,
long.
I think we've gone entirely the right amount.
I know, but I'm hungry. Um, and I don't want to eat on stream. What kind of sick monster would eat food while doing a political stream? Um,
Destiny,
I know,
Hassan,
I know, I
Josh.
know. Sick monsters, all of them. Uh, eating it while you're talking to people, sick monsters. Um, I appreciate talking to you. Um,
Yeah, it was good.
you you didn't have a bad time today, did you?
No, I mean,
Okay. We
we talked about the things that I wanted to talk about.
okay, good. We did. We talked about it. We both got our say. We went around in circles. Sometimes it got rambly. Sometimes it got circular. But I will cut that out all out when I do the videos. So that is it. We have a troll. God, get out of here, troll! I swear, trolling it up
Troll.
left and right. Get out of here. All right.
A troll.
He's behind me.
Ah, oh yeah, yeah. I
Get
forgot.
out of here, troll. All right. And
Shinsunto, if you disagree with what I just said, feel free to put it in the disagreements with Thomas channel.
yeah, there is a Discord that you could click on and join from the videos. You can click on it. I'm quite sure I put the link in there. Um, and you can click on it, and then you can type away all you like as we debate forever and ever and ever forever. Never going to end debating because it'll never end. But this stream has to end right now.
All right. Bye,
Okay.
everybody.
Goodbye. He's from Kirby. Oh, hi. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button, press the subscribe button. Uh, if you want to tell me how right I am, feel free to leave a comment. If you want to tell me how wrong I am, leave a comment too. That's good. Um, this is just kind of a hobby for me, so I appreciate you coming by, giving it a watch, and pressing the YouTube buttons. Thanks.